All right, so in light of the huge negative feedback people are giving me to me not wanting to see the Bieber Bennington thing every bloody day, I'm just taking that completely out of this, as if like I'm gonna say, "Oh, I don't like charity." What in the hell? Anyways, yeah, I've just never been a fan of Justin Bieber at all on any level at all. Completely no. And so seeing him on my TV all the time is kind of aggravating. But that's fine. They have their charity thing, and it's fine. So we're gonna redo the news of the day video. I'm just gonna take that whole bit out. Just forget about it. Because again, I don't know. I get it. Fine, whatever. So we'll talk about everything else. The Tampa Bay Lightning being down on defensemen with Ruda and McDonagh out. Ruda's not impossible to replace. McDonagh kind of sort of is because of the amount of ice time that he plays. His importance on that blue line for Tampa, you can't overstate it. And so the Bolts could be looking for defense as per Pierre LeBrun. That being said, it's 2 weeks according to the coach. Now we're 2 weeks and 2 days away from the trade deadline, so that would mean he'd be back before the trade deadline. Overcorrecting can be a problem, where you'll see a team pick a player up, and because they have an injury, and then 2 weeks later they have to waive somebody. Sometimes it's the player they've picked up. Most recently, you could look at Detroit picking up Eric Comrie. And Comrie, they had to waive after they'd given up an asset to Arizona to get him. So, that can be tricky. And whether or not that asset ever becomes an NHL player, well, his numbers have been better. I actually did check after Comrie went to Winnipeg. His numbers have been better playing in the Arizona system than they were in Detroit. So we'll see if that one comes back to bite him. Dylan, highly likely to get dealt at the deadline. San Jose, there's also rumors about Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau. I can't see Thornton and Marleau going anywhere. They came back. They signed to play for San Jose. Marleau's been very public and very open about how when things didn't last in Toronto, he wanted to play in California. So he said no to Carolina, which would have been a good spot for him. They did want to keep him. And I can't see him going anywhere outside California. And obviously, none of the three California teams are in the mix. So I would be very surprised if at the deadline Marleau was to go somewhere, or Thornton as well. Thornton came out and signed for a nice cheap deal so he could stay in San Jose and help them get over the hump. And it hasn't happened this year, but I would be kind of surprised if either of them moved. That being said, San Jose may very well be willing to make that move. It's just a matter of whether or not the players are willing to move. And Doug Wilson's shown enough respect to both Marleau and Thornton. I'd be very surprised if he made a move without their okay. Even if there wasn't a no-trade clause, I'd be very surprised if he made that move without their okay. There's been a lot of talk about the Leafs needing help on defense. Talked about this earlier. I think their major problem is turnovers. I think turnovers, that's where their major issue is. And that may very well speak to coaching. Now, I'm not talking about Keefe. I'm talking about on the defensive side of things. And this is why when DJ Smith went to Ottawa, there were a lot of fans said, all right, well, that's fine. We don't need Smith. We'll be fine. And there's some, I don't know if it's systemic is the right word, but there's some issues going on with Toronto that I think just adding another body, throwing another defenseman in there, I don't think they naturally fix. Because I've seen over their last, I'll say month, just a lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy plays, and that is something that you're going to want to see a coach get out of their game. 2-year extension yesterday for Dean Kukan. That didn't warrant for me a video all of its own, so here it is now. $1.65 million a year for 2 years. Things are going pretty well for Columbus. And speaking of which, Elvis Merzlikins, he equaled a record, 5 shutouts in 8 games by a rookie. The other goaltenders have done it. Tiny Thompson in 1928-29. Dolly Dolson in 1928-29 as well. And Frank Brimsek in 1938-39. Brimsek, Hall of Famer. Thompson, Hall of Famer. Elvis, it's a little bit early to be calling him a Hall of Famer. But that being said, he's had an amazing run. When Korpisalo went out, there were plenty, including myself on some of them. Well, it's going to be a lot harder for them now. And actually, Merzlikins has put up better numbers than Korpisalo was putting up. So it's been a fantastic run. 698 goals for Ovechkin right now. I would expect him to hit 700 tonight. He and Austin Matthews tied with 40 goals. I know. And yet, to me, Ovie's in the lead because look how many Ovie's had in the last couple of weeks. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get 50, 55, 60, 80, 90. How many goals is Ovechkin going to get? So, Ovechkin is the favorite for the Rocket Richard right now. Things went kind of cold for Pasta weeks back. And I think it's interesting to look at Boston and how the team's record has gotten better as soon as their goal scoring got diversified a little bit. They were relying, I thought, too much on Pasta at points during that streak where they were losing a lot in overtime and they weren't able to close out games. Now they're getting goals from elsewhere, and I think that's better for them. So while I'm sure Pastrnak would love to hit 50-plus goals, and he should hit 50, I think it's better for the team if he's not scoring 60, 65, or 70, and there's nobody else making that effort to get that goal. Ovechkin should hit 700 tonight, and I say should, even though that would be another multi-goal game, because look how he's been playing lately. He's been fantastic. And I know there are people who are tired of hearing about Ovechkin, but here we are. There's a Sedin retirement jersey retirement week going on in Vancouver this week. Kind of big news with that because as Canuck fans, we have a really a warm spot in our hearts for the Sedin twins. For the most part, there may be the odd Canuck fan that isn't necessarily a fan of the Sedins. I'm not sure how that works, but while they were never really my all-time favorite Canucks, and they're not on my Canucks wall in this corner or anything, they really were the best offensive players the Vancouver Canucks have ever had. And I think Henrik Sedin, arguably the best captain the team's ever had. I say arguably because we can have that debate about Trevor Linden. We could have the debate with Marcus Naslund. We could have the debate with Stan Smeel, for those who are old enough to remember, or Orland Kurtenbach, if you're that old. And I didn't watch Kurtenbach play. I'm not that old. I didn't watch Kurtenbach play, so I can't have any statement on how strong a captain he was for the team. But I thought Henrik was fantastic. And Roberto, I see you. I know you were captain as well. I never liked the idea of the goaltender being the captain. That was a weird time for Vancouver. But we're having Sedin jersey retirement week. Their numbers are going up to the rafters, and there will be a lot of different things being done by Vancouver this week. The one thing that kind of just ticked me off a little bit. So at the start of the season, when I was looking at ticket prices for games, if it's something to do with the Sedins, the ticket price is significantly higher. And I said to my wife when I was looking at the ticket prices, it was cheaper for me to watch them play. And I watched them play a few times before they retired, so I'll just go with that, and I'm not going to worry about seeing I can watch their numbers going up to the rafters on TV and save myself a lot of money. It's expensive. I know fans are excited. I know there are fans that watch this channel that are going and are excited about it, but for me, the ticket price was just too high. That's kind of how it works, though, supply and demand. And they went, all right, people are going to want to see these, and we're going to make these the most expensive tickets. I always went with the cheapest ones. That's why I picked the games that I did to go to, because they were the cheapest games. So, yeah. Anyways, rumors are out there that the Bruins are looking at Kovalchuk. There are some really silly rumors right now. When I hear rumors about which players are going to get moved, and then I see almost a dozen teams attached by a reporter, I'm thinking, okay, it's been a slow trade deadline. It's been a slow overall year for trades. I did a video on why it's been a slow year. I still believe all of that, and I think it's going to be slow deadline as well. And the rumor is that the Bruins might be one of the front runners looking at Kovalchuk. It is always odd when Boston and Montreal make a trade, because these are your traditional rivals. So if they make a trade for Kovalchuk, that'll be interesting to see how that works. Now, if rumors are to be believed, it's apparently a second rounder that they may look for Kovalchuk, maybe a prospect and lower level player. I hope it's not too much, because Kovalchuk in Montreal has been playing prime minutes. He's been given a great opportunity to thrive there, which is good for him. And it's been a great story. I don't know he can replicate that story somewhere else. Now, for Montreal, in a news of theirs for today, Jonathan Drouin has been activated. Paling sent to the AHL. And so that does free up a spot for him if they do move Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk's been kind of holding down the fort until Drouin returns. So, yeah, we'll see. And yet, if Montreal wants to go on a run, you'd think they would hold on to Kovalchuk, throw Drouin to the lineup, and then you've got a deeper lineup there. It actually makes more sense. So, yeah, we'll see whether or not Kovalchuk gets moved for Montreal. They're likely going to be sellers. Broken cheekbone for Marino. I don't know how to segue into that. Marino took a puck to the face the other night, and so there's a broken cheekbone as a reward. I've discussed guys taking pucks to the face and talked about how, it would be great if players were, more conscious about trying to protect their face in general, because we've seen instances where players have been out for a long time because of a puck to the face. You could get a puck in the eye, this kind of thing. It's a scary thing. But again, players will say that it inhibits their vision, and it's not really, they don't play all this junior hockey to take the cage off just to put it back on as an NHLer. But it's tough when you see a guy getting a puck in the head like that. Sort of like the ear protectors that they yank out of those helmets. I don't need those. And then they take a puck in the ear, which is scary. That's going on. And of course, I discussed the first time I did this video the fact that in the East, it's looking like it's going to be about 101 points to make the playoffs. And in the West, it's going to take about 91 points to make the playoffs. It is a ridiculously tough Eastern Conference. The West, and we knew this coming out of the last lockout, was going to have less teams than the East. So once Seattle comes in, we'll see if that changes things at all and makes things better. If that tightens things up in the West, so both conferences are even. But I will say this, having watched NBA standings for decades, there's always one conference stronger than the other. Watching NFL playoffs, there's always a division where somebody misses the playoffs who might win one of the other divisions. So it is a thing. Is it a problem? Yes. Does it happen in every sport? Kind of. And so it's part of sports that you're going to see teams miss the playoffs that probably should have made it. And when I see the 1 versus 16 argument, that's fine, but then you have to have a balanced schedule, and that's where it gets kind of tricky. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.